What if the world has it backwards? What if what they label as a disorder is actually a different way of just experiencing reality? What if centuries of spiritual seekers have been trying to access states of consciousness that many ADHD minds tap naturally? I discovered a meditation approach that transformed my experience in weeks, not years, and it might just change everything you think you know about the relationship between ADHD and spiritual practice. Before discovering this approach, meditation was absolutely mental torture for me. Each session felt like a brutal reminder of what I couldn't do. Now it's become a doorway into experiences I never thought possible. For decades, I moved through the world thinking something was wrong with me, until I realized when I was 40 years old and discovered that my mind isn't broken. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that's when I found out that my brain is just wired differently in a way that aligns surprisingly well with certain spiritual practices. Today I'm going to show you how what society labels as ADHD might actually provide unique pathways for spiritual exploration. For those just finding this channel, welcome to a space that explores consciousness, the nature of reality, and experimental realizations. While today we're focusing on ADHD and spirituality, my work spans the full spectrum of human perception and experience. I post new content several times a week, sharing insights from my ongoing exploration of consciousness. This community is built on practical experimentation, discovering what actually works rather than just recycling theory. Before we continue, I want to take a quick moment to recognize my amazing Patreon members who are true co-creators of this vision. Together, we're bringing ancient wisdom, neuroscience, meditation, consciousness exploration, and understanding of the nature of reality together in practical ways. This isn't about fantasy or abstract theories, it's about what's real and useful in your life right now. Every bit of support directly translates into more time and resources I can dedicate to expanding this work, more videos, deeper research, better production quality, and all of it becomes possible through community backing. When you join our Patreon, you're not just supporting a channel, you're becoming an active participant in this exploration. The more our community grows, the more we can all accomplish together, whether it's developing new meditation approaches for different cognitive styles, exploring consciousness research, or bringing ancient wisdom into modern context. Your participation makes it all possible. The link to join is in the description below. The names you've seen scrolling at the bottom are people who are already members now. I want to give a special thanks to them for being a part of this. I hope you'll at least consider it. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 40. I joined a research study, underwent extensive examinations with experts in the field, and was genuinely shocked by what they found. Not only did I have ADHD, but I was at the extreme end of the spectrum. I didn't even know there was a spectrum. This was bewildering because I appeared so controlled and calm 99% of the time. That's when I learned something crucial. The H in the ADHD isn't about external hyperactivity. It represents how the mind works internally. My mind is constantly connecting dots, seeing patterns, and sensing relationships that others miss, unless I'm hyper-focusing when everything else disappears. Think of the typical ADHD mind like a Ferrari engine placed in a Toyota Corolla frame. There's nothing wrong with the engine, it's powerful and high-performing, but the surrounding structure isn't designed to channel that much energy optimally. The right meditation approach doesn't try to downgrade the engine, it builds a better framework around it. Have you ever wondered why approximately 5% of the population consistently has ADHD across all cultures and throughout human history? Evolution doesn't maintain traits like that without a purpose, especially at such significant levels across millennia. From an evolutionary perspective, having members of a tribe or a community with heightened sensitivity to environmental changes, rapid pattern recognition, and ability to hyperfocus during critical situations would be tremendously valuable for survival. The hunter who notices the subtle movement patterns in the bush that others miss, whose attention consistently shifts scanning for potential threats. The problem solver who makes unexpected connections during crisis situations. These were all essential roles that ADHD traits would have supported. Now, today these same traits manifest differently in our modern environment, but the underlying neurological wiring serves the same purpose, providing cognitive diversity that benefits the whole. This isn't a mistake of evolution. It's not a disorder. I hate that term. It's a deliberate maintenance of different cognitive styles that collectively strengthen human survival and innovation. It's worth noting that many indigenous cultures worldwide have traditions that value what we might call today ADHD traits, particularly in spiritual contexts like shamanism, where pattern recognition across different realms of experience is highly valued. Individuals who could rapidly shift attention, notice subtle patterns, and make unusual connections were often selected for spiritual roles within their communities. These cultures didn't see these traits as disorders, but as gifts that enabled certain individuals to bridge different worlds of consciousness, something modern neuroscience is only beginning to understand. So with this understanding, here's a perspective shift that changed everything. What if you're not the ones with the disorder? In spiritual traditions worldwide, practitioners spent decades trying to develop exactly what comes naturally to many people with ADHD minds. The ability to see beyond conventional categories, heightened sensitivity to subtle patterns, a capacity for total immersion in the present moment, perception of connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena. This isn't to say that ADHD minds are somehow superior, they're just different, with their own strengths and challenges. And some of those strengths happen to align remarkably well with qualities valued in various spiritual traditions. One of the most distinctive features of many ADHD minds is the ability to connect dots that few others seem to see. For years, I would notice patterns, relationships, and connections between seemingly unrelated concepts and think, how is this not obvious to everyone? Now I understand why I do that. While neurotypical thinking often follows a very linear path, ADHD minds frequently create multidimensional webs of associations. This isn't a bug, it's a feature that gives access to insights that might take others years of practice to glimpse. Traditional meditation instructions like clear your mind or focus on one thing can feel like being told just to pay attention, frustratingly unhelpful for ADHD minds. It's like telling someone who's nearsighted to just see clearly without offering them glasses. What's missing is acknowledging that ADHD minds need dynamic engagement, not static focus. The typical approach creates an impossible first step, asking us to achieve the end result before giving us a workable path to get there. So when meditation teachers say, if your mind wanders, bring it back, they don't realize that for ADHD mind, this isn't happening occasionally. It's happening constantly, creating a frustrating cycle of perceived failure. Now, I want to stress something critically important. Just like how we learn differently than most people, we also need to meditate differently. The traditional approaches to meditation were developed for neurotypical minds. They simply don't account for the unique wiring of ADHD brains. Think about it. In education, we've recognized that different learning styles require different teaching methods. Visually, learners need diagrams, kinesthetic learners need movement, and so on. Yet when it comes to spiritual practices, we're often handed one-size-fits-all approach for everybody. If you've tried traditional meditation and found yourself frustrated, it's not because you're failing at meditation, it's because that particular approach is failing you. Your mind isn't broken, it just works differently and needs a different path to the same destination, and that's okay. My breakthrough came when I discovered AUTOGENICS, which is the body-to-mind approach instead of the mind-to-body. After countless failed attempts in traditional meditation, I found that instead of trying to directly quiet my mind first, I could deeply relax my body using systematic techniques. I have made a couple videos on this and a guided meditation. They are going to be listed on my closing screen. You can take a look at that, or just go on my page and you can find a bunch more information on the specifics of this. Going back to it, traditional meditation typically use a mind-to-body approach. Quietly your mind first and your body will follow. My technique flips that around completely, using a body-to-mind approach instead. First, we deeply relax the body, which then naturally allows the mind to settle, and it really makes a difference. The moment I flipped this approach, starting with the body rather than the mind, everything changed. It was like finding the key to the lock I've been struggling with for years. Many with ADHD experience a state of what we call hyperfocus, where the world disappears and time dilates. Sometimes I start working on a video and 15 hours have gone by and I barely notice, no lie. It's like the rest of the world gets fuzzy and distant and I have to remind myself to eat and drink, which I usually fail at doing. That's a double-edged sword of hyperfocus, incredibly productive, but usually at a cost if not managed well. I've noticed that the same state happens when I write. It's actually turned into a form of meditation of its own. The process creates an experience remarkably similar to meditation. I've completely immersed, the rest of the world falls away, and when I'm done, I feel refreshed as if I've been meditating. Traditional sitting meditation isn't the only path to mindfulness and spiritual development. Walking meditation, for instance, can be remarkably effective. The rhythmic movement provides just enough physical stimulation to keep the ADHD mind engaged while still developing mindfulness. Instead of fighting against your body's need for movement, walking meditation incorporates it directly into the practice. There's also moving meditation practices like Tai Chi and Qigong that combine breath control, physical movement, and mental focus. These can be particularly accessible for ADHD minds because they engage multiple sensory channels simultaneously and work with your mind instead of against it. Another approach that works well is guided visualization, which gives the mind a specific and engaging focus rather than asking it to concentrate on something as subtle as the breath. Creative visualization harnesses the vivid imagination that many with ADHD possess. Even everyday activities can become meditation when approached mindfully. For some with ADHD, activities like cooking, gardening, or creating art can become powerful meditation practices because they naturally induce a state of flow. Now, medication certainly has some advantages for ADHD. It can help you focus on things you don't really find interesting, but have to do anyway. So they do have their place in certain contexts. Medication is only one tool, and it doesn't address the fundamental reality that the way we're wired isn't a curse, it's a blessing. Our different neurological wiring gives us capabilities that others work years to develop. The benefits of this approach extend far beyond spiritual practice. Many find that working with rather than against their ADHD minds improves sleep quality and the ability to wind down. You know how hard that is. Emotional regulation and reduced overreactivity. Creativity and problem-solving abilities. Ability to be more present in relationships. Overall sense of peace with one's own mind. These aren't just spiritual benefits. They're practical life improvements that can transform how you experience your day-to-day reality with ADHD. Whether you have ADHD or not, there's incredible value in understanding different cognitive approaches to meditation spiritually. ADHD exists on a spectrum, and many people have traits without a formal diagnosis. You might recognize aspects of yourself in what I'm describing, even if you've never considered yourself neurodivergent. Learning from diverse neurological perspectives can transform your practice. Why? Because traditional meditation techniques were developed for particular cultural and neurological contexts. They weren't designed for our modern-day diversity of minds in this world. Maybe you've tried meditation before and felt like a failure because you couldn't quiet your mind. Maybe you've given up, thinking meditation just isn't for you. This different approach might actually be what you need. Now, I know some people might be skeptical about meditation working for ADHD minds, or even question whether ADHD exists at all. But how would they know? Unless they've lived inside an ADHD mind, they're simply commenting on something they haven't experienced. What matters is finding what works for you, not what others think should work for you. The emotional burden of feeling like you can't meditate properly is something many with ADHD carry. But that burden isn't yours to bear. It's simply the result of being handed tools designed for a different type of mind. So I want to hear from you. What aspects of ADHD and meditation would you like me to explore further? What challenges have you faced in your own practice? Drop your questions and experiences in the comments. Your input directly shapes the content I create. So don't be shy about telling me what you want to see next. Popping up right now, you're going to see a guided meditation and other videos I made specifically about this.